A scream ripped through the royal arena. Vaelira staggered backward as a silver tray crashed from her hands, goblets clattering across the polished marble floor. One rolled in a slow circle before tipping over the edge of the platform and shattering below. The music stopped instantly. Hundreds of noble guests turned in unison. For a heartbeat, the entire hall was silent. Then the whispers began. Who let the servant onto the ceremonial floor? Is this some kind of joke? During the Luna selection, Vaelira's chest tightened as heat rushed to her face. She quickly dropped to her knees, scrambling to gather the fallen goblets before anyone could shout at her. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice shaking. I didn't mean. Oh, don't apologize to us, a woman's voice said coldly from above. Vaelira slowly lifted her head. A group of noblewomen stood only a few steps away, their gowns shimmering under the thousands of floating lanterns that illuminated the arena. Their jewelry glittered like small stars, and their expressions were full of open contempt. One of them folded her arms. You should apologize to the throne, she said sharply. You just interrupted the Luna selection ceremony. The word struck Vaelira like a slap. The Luna selection. Her stomach twisted painfully. Of all nights to make a mistake. It had to be this one. She forced herself to stand and bowed quickly. I'll clean it up immediately, she said. Another noblewoman laughed. You shouldn't even be here, she muttered. Servants belong in the kitchens, not in the arena of queens. More whispers spread across the hall. The royal arena was enormous, built entirely of white stone and towering pillars carved with ancient wolf runes. The 7 great packs of the kingdom had gathered tonight, filling the balconies and grand seats above. Every powerful family had sent their daughters. Every noblewoman hoped to be chosen. Because tonight, the ruler of the entire wolf dominion would select his Luna. Vaelira swallowed hard and bent down to collect the goblets again, trying to disappear into the floor. But something was wrong. She wasn't supposed to be carrying wine here. She wasn't even supposed to be inside the arena. Earlier that evening she had been working quietly in the servant halls when the royal herald's voice echoed through the palace. All Luna candidates report to the arena immediately. Vaelira had barely noticed. Until the herald continued reading the list of names. Powerful pack daughters. Alpha heirs. Warrior priestesses. Then suddenly. Vaelira Thaleryn. The entire servant hall had gone silent. Vaelira had looked up slowly. Surely. That couldn't be her. But the herald repeated it. Vaelira Thaleryn. Present yourself. Her heart had nearly stopped. One of the older servants had stared at her in shock. That's you. Vaelira had shaken her head immediately. There must be another Vaelira. But there wasn't. And before she could protest, palace guards had escorted her directly to the arena. Now she stood surrounded by the most powerful women in the kingdom. And every single one of them looked ready to tear her apart. Unbelievable, a noblewoman scoffed nearby. A servant pretending to be Luna. I'm not pretending, Vaelira said quietly. Then why are you here? I don't know. The answer sounded pathetic even to her own ears. Another voice spoke sharply from behind them. Enough. The crowd instantly fell silent. The royal herald stepped forward onto the arena platform. He held a long golden staff engraved with ancient symbols of the throne. The Luna candidates will take their places, he announced loudly. The noblewomen moved immediately, forming a proud line across the center of the arena. Each one stood tall and confident. Each one carried the grace of someone raised to rule beside a king. Vaelira hesitated. She slowly stepped into the line. Standing awkwardly at the very end. Several candidates glanced at her with thinly disguised disgust. One leaned closer and whispered under her breath. If the king chooses you, the kingdom will laugh for 100 years. Vaelira said nothing. She kept her gaze lowered. The massive arena doors suddenly thundered open. A deep horn echoed through the hall. Every wolf in the chamber stood instantly. The Alpha King arrives, the herald declared. The atmosphere shifted like the arrival of a storm. Heavy. Electric. Powerful. Boots struck the marble floor with slow, controlled steps. The ruler of the Dominion entered the arena. Kedros Valtherian. His presence alone seemed to darken the air. He wore a long black cloak that brushed the ground behind him like a living shadow. Silver armor covered his broad chest, engraved with ancient symbols of the throne. But the most terrifying thing about him was his gaze. Golden. Cold. Predatory. A true alpha. The crowd bowed deeply as he passed. No one dared speak. Vaelira felt the power of his aura press down on her chest like invisible weight. She had seen him only once before from far away during a royal procession. Up close. He was far more intimidating. Kedros stepped onto the platform and surveyed the candidates before him. One by one, his gaze passed over them. Strong wolves. Noble bloodlines. Women worthy of ruling beside the throne. Then his eyes reached the end of the line. And stopped. Vaelira felt the moment his gaze landed on her. Her entire body went rigid. Something inside the king shifted. His wolf stirred violently beneath his skin. A low growl vibrated in his chest. The sound echoed faintly through the silent arena. Several nobles gasped. Did his wolf react? Someone whispered. Kedros narrowed his eyes slightly. His gaze locked onto the girl at the end of the line. She looked nothing like the others. No jewels. No royal dress. Just a simple servant gown. Her dark hair had been tied quickly, as if she hadn't even prepared for the ceremony. And yet, something about her presence felt strange. Ancient. Unfamiliar. Dangerous. His wolf paced restlessly. Choose her. The instinct came suddenly. Strong. Violent. Kedros' jaw tightened. Impossible. He stepped closer. The arena held its breath. Vaelira's heart pounded wildly as the Alpha King approached. When he stopped directly in front of her, she forced herself to bow deeply. My king, she whispered. His voice came out low and sharp. Look at me. Slowly, Vaelira lifted her head. Their eyes met. For a split second, something flickered between them. Recognition. Power. Then Kedros' expression hardened. What is your name? He asked. Vaelira Thaleryn. The nobles immediately began murmuring again. A servant name. Where is her pack crest? This is ridiculous. Kedros raised one hand. The arena fell silent again. You are not noble-born, he said. No, my king. You are not an alpha daughter. No. His golden eyes sharpened. Then why are you standing among Luna candidates? Vaelira swallowed nervously. I was called here by the herald. Kedros slowly turned his head toward the council seats. Several elders suddenly looked very uncomfortable. One of them cleared his throat. There may have been an administrative error. The king's expression darkened immediately. An error that allowed a servant into the Luna selection? No one answered. Kedros looked back at Vaelira. For a moment he studied her in silence. His wolf growled again. The strange instinct returned. Choose her. Claim her. His fists tightened. He crushed the feeling instantly. His voice became cold as steel. Remove her. The words echoed through the arena. Vaelira felt the air leave her lungs. My king. You do not belong here, Kedros said sharply. Two palace guards stepped forward. The noblewomen nearby smirked with satisfaction. Vaelira lowered her head slowly. Yes. My king. As the guards took her arms and began leading her away, the laughter returned in soft, cruel whispers. Back to the kitchens. Where she belongs. Vaelira kept walking. Her chest felt hollow. But the moment she reached the great arena doors, Kedros suddenly staggered. A violent pain ripped through his chest. His wolf roared inside him. The bond had snapped. His eyes widened. Wait. Wait. The single word cracked through the arena like thunder. The guards froze instantly. Vaelira stopped walking. For a brief, fragile second, hope flickered inside her chest. Slowly she turned around. The Alpha King stood at the center of the arena, his broad shoulders rigid, his golden eyes fixed on her as if he were seeing her for the first time. My king? She asked quietly. The entire hall watched in tense silence. Kedros didn't speak immediately. Something inside him was wrong. The moment she had walked away, his chest had felt like it was tearing apart. His wolf had roared violently, slamming against the walls of his control. Choose her. Claim her. The instinct had been overwhelming. But it made no sense. The girl had no title. No known bloodline. No power. She was a servant. His jaw tightened. He refused to let instinct rule him like a reckless beast. After a long moment, he spoke again, his voice colder than before. Take her away. The hope in Vaelira's eyes shattered. She lowered her head. Yes, my king. This time she didn't look back. The massive arena doors closed behind her with a heavy echo. And the moment she disappeared, the strange pressure inside Kedros vanished. His wolf went completely silent. The king stood frozen. Something about that silence felt wrong. Very wrong. But the ceremony continued. The Luna candidates straightened proudly again, eager to reclaim the king's attention. One of the noblewomen stepped forward gracefully. My king, she said softly, bowing. Shall we proceed with the trials? Kedros stared at the closed doors where the servant girl had disappeared. For some reason, the arena suddenly felt emptier. Yes, he said finally. The trials began. Strength. Speed. Wolf dominance. The candidates shifted into their wolves one by one, powerful creatures with gleaming coats and glowing eyes. The nobles applauded. But Kedros barely watched. Something restless lingered inside his chest. Hours passed before the ceremony ended. The king left the arena without choosing anyone. That alone shocked the entire court. But Kedros ignored the whispers as he strode down the dark palace corridors. His mind kept returning to the servant girl. Vaelira Thaleryn. The name felt strange in his thoughts. Ancient. Familiar. He pushed open the doors to the royal council chamber. The elders were already waiting. One of them, a thin gray-haired man named Elder the Rose, spoke first. My king, the Luna selection can be rescheduled if... Who placed the servant girl on the candidate list? The question cut him off immediately. The elders exchanged uneasy glances. We are investigating the matter, the Rose said carefully. Kedros stepped closer to the council table. Investigate faster. Another elder nervously unrolled an ancient parchment from the table. My king. There may be something else you should see. Kedros frowned. What is it? The elder slid the parchment across the table. It was old. Very old. The ink had faded, but the ancient symbols were still visible. A prophecy, the elder said quietly. Kedros' expression hardened. I have no patience for riddles tonight. It concerns the Luna of the throne. The king's eyes narrowed slightly. Explain. The elder read slowly. When the throne rejects the daughter of shadows, the moon will awaken her forgotten blood. The room fell silent. Another elder continued the line. And the king who cast her away shall kneel before the power he refused to see. Kedros stared at the parchment. A cold realization began creeping into his chest. Who wrote this prophecy? The first moon oracle, the rose replied quietly. Kedros looked up sharply. That prophecy is centuries old. Yes. And you're suggesting it refers to a servant girl? We're suggesting, the elder said slowly, that Vaelira Thaleryn may not be a servant at all. The king's golden eyes darkened. Find her. My king. Now. Guards spread through the palace immediately. But Vaelira was gone. Completely gone. No one had seen her leave the palace gates. No one had seen her in the servant halls. It was as if she had vanished into the night. Kedros stood in the palace courtyard long after midnight, staring at the dark forest beyond the kingdom walls. His wolf stirred restlessly. Find her. Claim her. But the forest remained silent. Miles away, beneath the towering black trees of the ancient wilderness, Vaelira stumbled through the undergrowth. Branches tore at her sleeves as she ran. Her chest burned with every breath. I just need to get away, she whispered to herself. Away from the palace. Away from the humiliation. Away from the king who had looked at her like she was nothing. Her legs finally gave out near a clearing. She collapsed onto the cold forest ground. The moon hung high above the trees, glowing bright and silver. Vaelira stared at it through blurred vision. Why did you let them choose me? She whispered to the sky. I never wanted any of this. A strange warmth stirred inside her chest. She frowned slightly. What? The warmth pulsed. Then pain exploded through her body. Vaelira gasped. Her back arched as silver light flickered beneath her skin. Her heartbeat thundered wildly. What's happening to me? The moonlight grew brighter. The forest wind began to swirl around her. Deep within her chest, something ancient awakened. Bones shifted. Power surged through her veins like lightning. Vaelira cried out as glowing silver markings appeared across her arms. Her eyes widened in shock. I can feel it. A wolf. For the first time in her life. She could feel her wolf. But it wasn't ordinary. It was enormous. Ancient. Radiant with silver moonlight. When the transformation finished, a massive wolf stood in the clearing. Her fur shimmered like liquid. Silver beneath the moon. Power rolled from her body in waves. The forest went completely still. Even the wind stopped. Far away in the palace, Kedros suddenly dropped to one knee. The bond slammed into him like a storm. His wolf roared. Mate! His golden eyes widened in disbelief. No. The power in the forest pulsed again. The truth struck him like lightning. He had rejected his mate. The most powerful Luna the kingdom had ever seen. Back in the clearing, Vaelira slowly returned to her human form. She stared down at her glowing hands in shock. What? Am I? A deep voice answered from the darkness. You are the last daughter of the moon sovereigns. Vaelira spun around. An old woman stepped from the shadows. Her eyes glowed faintly silver. The blood of ancient rulers flows in your veins, the woman continued. The throne feared that power centuries ago. So your bloodline was erased. Vaelira's heart pounded. You mean? I was never a servant? You were a hidden queen. The words felt unreal. Vaelira clenched her fists slowly. They humiliated me, she whispered. They threw me away like I was nothing. The old woman studied her carefully. And what will you do now? Vaelira lifted her gaze toward the distant kingdom lights beyond the mountains. Her silver eyes burned with quiet fury. They will learn the truth. Days later, chaos erupted in the kingdom. Enemy packs attacked the borders. The Alpha King's armies struggled to hold them back. Kedros stood on the battlefield surrounded by smoke and blood. His wolf sensed her before his eyes did. A wave of power rolled across the battlefield. Every wolf froze. A figure stepped through the mist. Silver markings glowed faintly across her skin. Vaelira. But she was no longer the frightened servant girl. She walked with the quiet authority of a ruler. The enemy wolves backed away instinctively. Kedros stared at her in stunned silence. You came back, he said quietly. Vaelira stopped several feet away from him. Her silver eyes met his golden ones. I didn't come back for you. The words cut deeper than any blade. I came back for my kingdom. Her power surged outward. The enemy wolves fled instantly. The battlefield fell silent. Kedros slowly lowered his head. For the first time in his life. The Alpha King knelt. I rejected you, he said quietly. Vaelira said nothing. But now I see what you truly are. The wind moved gently through the battlefield. Kedros looked up at her. Rule beside me, he said. You are the only Luna worthy of this throne. Vaelira studied him for a long moment. Then she spoke softly. I was always worthy. And the kingdom that once mocked the servant girl now bowed before their true queen.